Hey guys, Andrew here and welcome back to my channel. So if you don't know what I do by now, basically if it's Canadian, I want to talk about it. You know, I think social media is something that as a species we have long looked for. The concept is very simple. The ability to speak your opinion, to share your ideas, and share them with the masses. I think we all love that. The idea that whatever we believe in or whatever we do can be shared worldwide and we can find people who are like us, who like what we like, and that we're not alone in the grand scheme of things. But this wasn't always the way it was. Back in the day, save for a few forums and chat rooms, your options were limited. But if you lived in Toronto, you may find some like-minded individuals on a little thing called Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner was a TV show on City TV, wherein which people who head into one of the Speaker's Corner booth got 2 minutes to speak their mind, do whatever they wanted, and just let the world, or rather most of Canada, know what they were thinking, how they felt, or just express themselves in whichever way they chose. But before we get into all of that, let's do a little history, shall we? So it all starts with this man, Moses Znamיר. In the 1960s, Moses was a host on CBC's Cross Country Checkup. He was a visionary at the time who wanted to do more. He wanted to create his own content. And when CBC said no, he said, "Screw you guys, I quit and I'm going to start my own network." And that's what he did with City TV. City TV was in Toronto and they wanted you to know that this was your station, Toronto. They made an effort specifically with City Pulse, which is now known as City News, trying to cover as many topics as locally as possible and really get to know their community. And part of this was letters to the editor. Originally, they asked people to write in.
Just before you go, you know, one day soon you'll probably be able to talk back to that television set, but until you do, we'll just have to rely on the post office, because all of us here at City TV want to hear from you. I can't guarantee that we'll agree with everything you have to say, but I can guarantee that we'll read each and every letter and get back to each and every one of them.
They decided that wasn't enough. So Moses did something truly unique. He set up a booth outside the building wherein which City TV was filmed, and they let people discuss stories that had been on City Pulse. Now, the way this worked was, for $1, you got 2 minutes. And they didn't need the dollar, all the money was donated to charity. But the idea was, if you put in $1, this was money coming out of your pocket, and you would have to think about whatever you said or did on camera, so you'd think twice about doing anything stupid. But not everybody did, and we'll get to that later. So, the booth is set up, people are paying their dollars, and what are they doing? Not exactly responding to news stories. A lot of people were using it to talk about their day, to express their opinions. Not everything essentially revolved around City Pulse. And more, they realized that this was Toronto at its most primal. It was people just letting out whatever they needed to say. And this eventually morphed into something bigger. So, in 1990, City TV debuted Speaker's Corner. I've gotten a little bit over the concept, but here things are a wee bit different, alright? So, once again, $1, 2 minutes, whatever you want to say. If it's good enough, if you're funny, if you're entertaining, you get on air. Now, the TV show itself was cut up into sections, usually with clips from old movies and title cards telling you what each part was about.
Surrounded by the watching women and the ever-guarding panther, the men...
Like, man, guys have had their heads chopped off for less than that.
Beautiful, isn't it?
In its own alien way, I guess it is.
And, of course, a few performances, like these guys.
You can be my Yoko Ono. You can follow me wherever I go.
Yes, that's right, the Bare Naked Ladies, one of Canada's most well-known bands, made their debut here on City TV. But they weren't the only ones who got their careers started on Speaker's Corner. Albert Howell and Andrew Curry were two members of Second City Toronto who made their name on Speaker's Corner as the Devil's Advocates! Yes, of course, if I am talking about Speaker's Corner, I would be stupid not to include the Devil's Advocates. To describe their act, they wore sunglasses, fake horns, and smoked in the booth. And really, they just had a good time. They made fun of current topics.
Go to the original Scream from the AGO! Screw you, AGO, they couldn't keep it in Norway, you can't keep it here!
They responded to other videos.
Girls could do anything. Girls could have green toothbrushes.
No, you can't. No, sorry, we have to draw the line somewhere. Sorry, I'm afraid it's in the Bible. Women cannot have green toothbrushes. Absolutely. Must use pink and purple, that's the way it is.
And they just performed skits.
By the way, that was our last loony, you know.
And they were popular. Not everybody was a fan.
Top 10 pet peeves. Guys who make a career out of Speaker's Corner.
They just don't care about anything but how to make a buck.
But they did have their fans.
We'd also like to leave a message to the Devil's Advocates. Yeah. You guys are doing a good job. Yeah. We love you guys. We watch Speaker's Corner just because of you guys.
To talk about those Devil's Advocates that everyone has been coming on here and commenting about. If you don't like them, just leave them alone. We think they're hot, and we watch City TV every week just for them.
And more than that, the people at City TV liked them so much that they said, we're gonna give you guys one episode, just all your clips.
You can love them or hate them, but you can't ignore them. This week it's the best of the Devil's Advocates.
But you know who liked them more? The people over at the Comedy Network, because they ended up getting their own TV show, Improv Heaven and Hell. And yes, it's improv, it's Canadian, Colin Mockery was on it. I think that's a legislature somewhere, but don't quote me on that. Now, you didn't have to be a regular Joe or an aspiring entertainer to get on Speaker's Corner. In fact, a lot of celebrities did pop in the booth and express their opinions. Some would talk about something that was close to their heart, others would just stop in to do a shout out, and then there was the time Weird Al took over. Now the thing about Moses is he was an ambitious man, so he created CTV, he created Space, he created Much Music, and he created a whole other slew of channels. Basically, he was the reason that cable and satellite providers had a premium package. Now, Much Music hosted Weird Al, and during this time, Weird Al would take over the station. He'd end up in the Speaker's Corner booth, and he would start making a few ludicrous demands.
I want to make a request. I don't think you guys play enough Alanis Morissette. Could you play something by her? And maybe some REM? That would be good. I like them. Foo Fighters. Smashing Pumpkins! Play something by Green Day, yeah! Play something by Beck! Oh, Soundgarden! 9 Inch Nails! Oh, one last thing. Could you play them all polka style? Polka style!
He who doesn't love Weird Al doesn't love life. Don't you agree? As much fun as the booth was, there were also some downsides. The show was so popular that they did spread out. They had booths in Vancouver, Alberta, London, Ontario, and a few other spots in Toronto. And these booths often needed to get serviced because people would vandalize them. They would draw graffiti on the window that protected the camera. People would try and smash the camera or steal money out of the token box. And then there were the questionable clips. As I mentioned before, the dollar was there to make you think about what you were going to put on camera, but not everybody did. And some people recorded themselves doing various disgusting things. And if you're wondering what happened to this footage, apparently they decided to air this at the company Christmas party, so you thought you had a crappy Christmas party. Now, all good things must come to an end, unfortunately, and in the case of Speaker's Corner, this happened when Rogers purchased City TV. In 2008, they would decide to pull the plug on Speaker's Corner as an operation, but they would bring the booth back a few times for special occasions. Since then, the legacy of Speaker's Corner has lived on in what is called the VoxBox. It's a new installment wherein which it follows the same rules as Speaker's Corner, minus the dollar, and your rant is posted on the internet, but really, at this point, it feels moot. And of course, Mr. Toronto himself, Drake, decided to recreate Speaker's Corner at one of his parties. What they did in that booth, who's to say, cause I didn't get an invite. Now, I've read a lot of articles that compare Speaker's Corner to early YouTube, and I would have to disagree with that because Speaker's Corner was more like a forum or a chat room in its primordial phase. It was more about people just shouting into the dark and sometimes getting a response and just letting out their opinion or just giving it their all. The problem is, with YouTube, we started to see the creation of the social media persona. Here, it's just people on the street expressing how they felt or just giving their best performance. Truly, Speaker's Corner is something I miss in the sense that there was no ego to this. It was just your chance to maybe shine for a little bit. Okay, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Just, hey, you do you, all right? I'm Andrew, and I'll see you later.